Hello everyone, my name is Wofel and welcome to the 6th episode of Strats Explained, Magically Easy, a video series where I explain how and why different strats and glitches that speedrunners use work. Today we are finally going to talk about GTA San Andreas. In my opinion the topic isn't hard, but if you want to understand it you'll have to listen carefully. So grab a cup of tea and let's get started. You might be wondering what is shown on the screen right now. This is a so-called mission tree. It shows all of the missions that you have to complete in order to complete the game itself. It also shows the order in which these missions are unlocked. Horizontal lines separate the different stages of the game: Los Santos, Badlands, San Fierro, and so on. Let's take a closer look. You can read this graph both top to bottom and bottom to top. For example, if we want to see which missions are going to be unlocked after completing 9s and AKs, you read the graph top to bottom. And you'll see, it's OG Lock and Drive-By. Similarly, if you want to see which missions have to be completed in order to unlock Doberman, you read the graph bottom to top. And in this case, this is Burning Desire and Caesar Villalpando. Next, you probably already spotted that there are a lot of different colors on the screen. This is because in the game script, all of the missions are divided into groups, and these groups are called strands. So, I put all of the missions from one strand into the same column, and I highlighted different strands with different colors. There are some exceptions, and these are characters that appear in different stages of the game. For instance, Caesar has missions both in Los Santos and Badlands, but these are two different strands. They are completely independent of each other. So you can say that the colors are unique among one stage. Some strands make a lot of sense, like Big Smoke's. It has all of his missions and only his missions. But some strands have some oddities if you want. OG Locks actually consists of 5 missions and House Party is listed twice. This is because in the game script, the cutscene where OG Lock invites you to the party is actually listed as a mission. I marked cutscenes in this graph with italic text. But be careful, not all of the cutscenes like this are missions. Another weird thing is strands like Casino. It has missions that are given by different characters at different locations, but they all belong to the same strand. And finally, the last mission of the game, End of the Line, is actually 3 different missions. So, as you can see, it's not that obvious as it could have been at the first glance. Luckily, having a mission tree like the one is shown on the screen makes things much easier to understand. Why am I even talking about these strands? Well, if we understand how they work, we will be able to answer all of the questions from the topic. It's time to look at an example. Every single strand has a script that is responsible for starting missions from that strand. Inside it checks a bunch of stuff like if the player is in the marker right now, and if all of the conditions are met, then it starts the mission. You might be wondering, how does it know which particular mission it has to start? The answer is very simple. Each script has a counter that tracks how many missions from that strand you have already completed. Initially it's equal to 0, and every time you pass a mission, it increments by 1. Thus, if you completed 4 Sweets missions, then the script knows that the next one is going to be Drive-By. And here's how it looks in the script. These are the conditions that check the current counter value, and these lines start corresponding missions. As I said earlier, when you pass a mission, the counter is increased by 1. Double plus sign means increase by 1. Thank you GTA Definitive Edition for leaking the script sources. Alright, now we understand that in order to skip a mission, we have to somehow fool the counter. How can we do it? This is when we remember that duping exists. For those who don't know what duping is starting 2 missions at the same time. For now, it doesn't really matter if this is the same mission started twice or 2 different missions. Of course, this wasn't intended by developers, but players found various glitches that allow you to dupe missions. Let's see what happens on a relevant example from the current route. Speedrunners dupe Tagging Up Turf and complete it twice. When they complete the mission, the counter is getting incremented by 1, but since it happens twice, the incrementation also happens twice, and this way the counter goes from 0 to 2. So when they come back for the next Sweets mission, the script checks the current value, it sees that it's 2 and starts drive-through, skipping cleaning the hood completely. To sum it up, duping and completing a mission increments the counter by 2 and skips the next mission from the current strand. And that's basically how it works. I told you, it's not that hard. Now let's talk about why not every mission can be skipped. There are multiple reasons. The first one, not every mission can be duped and completed twice. For example, some of them just crash the game when you dupe them. Second, it should be obvious that you cannot skip the first missions from strands. Counters always start with 0 and you cannot change it. Before we can continue, we have to cover another important topic, and that is how are missions getting unlocked. GTA San Andreas uses multiple techniques, and the first one is unlocking a mission when you complete another mission. For example, completing 9 Sunday case immediately unlocks OG lock. Completing drive-by unlocks home invasion. I highlighted situations like this in red. Therefore, you cannot skip 9 Sunday case or drive-by or any other mission like that, because if you do, then you will never unlock some missions that you must complete in order to finish the game, and you will be stuck in Los Santos forever. The second method of unlocking missions is basically checking the counters. You can say it's also divided into two sub-methods. The first one is quite harmless, and this is when you take the current counter value and see if it's greater than some number. For example, speedrunners dupe Burning Desire, which changes the counter value from 0 to 2. But this is not a problem, because in order to unlock Doberman, the value has to be more than 0. 2 is more than 0, no issues here. On the contrary, if you somehow manage to dupe and complete 555 VTIP, you'll have some issues, because right here the condition is checking for equality. 2 is not equal to 1, so you will never unlock deconstruction. So, this is another situation when you cannot skip a mission. Alright, I think I gave you enough information, and if you want to look for similar cases yourself, then there's gonna be a link to this graph image in the description. Now let me show you a situation when one dupe allows you to skip multiple missions. To unlock Yeka Boom Boom you have to complete Tarina's Last Flight and all Woozy's missions. But if we dupe Tarina's Last Flight and complete it twice, then the counter will go from 8 to 10. And that's enough to unlock Monster, a mission from the next strand. Therefore, we don't have to do any Woozy's missions, because technically speaking, they are only needed to unlock Yeka Boom Boom, a mission that we skip. And since I started talking about Monster, let me show you another cool thing. Apart from duping, there is another term, mass duping, and that is when you start more than 2 missions at the same time. Speedrunners dupe and complete Monster 8 times, which skips almost the whole strand. You basically unlock Ringu right away. But there is a catch. Learning to Fly actually has its own strand, but completing it increments the desert counter too. As you can see, the condition here is not strict, so you have to complete more than 3 missions. Obviously 8 is more than 3, so you kind of have a choice between Learning to Fly and Gringo. But in reality, not really, because you must complete Learning to Fly in order to unlock the Casino strand. And that's basically everything I wanted to tell you about GTA San Andreas. As a bonus, let's see how missions work in other GTAs. GTA 3 and GTA Vice City work the same. There are no strands, each mission has its own script, and instead of a counter there is a flag that basically tracks if you pass the mission or not. If it's not passed and you're in the marker, then the mission gets launched. When we pass a mission, we get into the mission pass sequence, where we get our money, for example. We set the flag to 1 and start a script that is responsible for launching the next mission. So, if you dupe some mission and complete it twice, you will not skip the next one. Instead, it's going to start duped without any glitches. Think of it as if you spawned 2 mission markers that start the same mission. Technically it's incorrect, but it's quite close to the reality, and I think it's much easier to understand this way. GTA Liberty City Stories is a whole different story. Since it came out after GTA San Andreas, it inherited the strand system. But duping and completing a mission twice doesn't skip the next one in this game. It happens, or rather doesn't happen, because instead of increasing the counter by 1 after completing a mission, developers decided to set it to a specific value. So, if you complete the third Vincenzo's mission, for instance, the code literally says set the completed for Vincenzo counter to 3. It doesn't matter how many times you complete the mission, it's going to stay 3. The most interesting system was developed in GTA Vice City Stories. Duping and completing the same mission twice can be used to skip the next mission from the current strand. But sometimes it's possible to skip a mission from a completely different strand. We're not going to look at how it all works in this video, because it's not the main topic. And to be fair, it's quite complicated and in my opinion deserves its own episode. Alright, now it's definitely everything I wanted to tell you today. As always, if something is still unclear or you have any other questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will try to help you. This time the challenge is very easy. As of today, in any percent speedrunner skip 29 missions, if I can count, that is. I showed you 14. Your goal is to show me the rest. Send your answer in the following format: which mission needs to be duped, how many times, and which mission or missions will it skip. I also ask you to send only one answer, especially if you already know it, so other people can participate as well. As always, if your answer is correct, you'll get a heart on your comment. A poll for the next topic is going to appear on the community tab in roughly 3 days after this video is released. I will also put the link to it in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you don't want to miss the next episode, consider subscribing. My name is Wofel. See you the next time.